Today we have a guest speaker to speak on his past of being a big failure, drugs, binge drinking, DUI, girls, fraternity partying, to a point where he's getting arrested, to now a successful, intelligent computer engineer. Stick around to find out how he did this. Welcome back to the Controvert podcast, where we analyze problems in societal norms. Now, I want to go ahead and let this talented individual introduce himself. Go ahead, bro.
So my name is Saint. I'm a data engineer. Used to be a bartender and major failure to society, disappointment of the family. Actually, that hasn't really changed much. But
So
most of that has changed now.
Your parents still consider you a fuck up?
My parents are pastors, so they would still want me to be a Christian and stuff, and that hasn't really changed for me.
Okay.
But yeah, at least I'm able to sustain myself financially now.
So just because you're not super Christian, they're like, oh, you're a screw up.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're not proud at all that you went from like all this fuck up.
They're proud of that. They're proud of that. They definitely didn't like when I was a bartender. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you a little bit of backstory, a little bit of context of why I think this is an interesting story and why I wanted this guy on. Is because I actually heard a lot about this guy, and I was just like, dude, who is this fuck boy, man? I was like, this guy is insane. Like, during our fraternity years or like college years, we were in the same frat, but then I was like hearing your name over and over. I was like, dude, this guy sounds like a nut job. I was like, holy crap. So then I was like,
bad.
This guy does not seem like the guy that would ever excel or like become someone better. And then just seeing you progress and then talk about your story. Sometimes, you know, if you're a Controvert viewer, like you come to this channel a lot to view our videos, you would see that he's been in like a couple episodes already.
Yeah.
And when you talk about some of your past experience, I'm like, wow, it's crazy because I actually resonate with stuff like that's happened.
Yeah.
You know, because I've had my own fair share of fuckery. And, you know, like the first question I want to ask, though, is with all this fuckery, would you say you're proud of it?
Like my past?
Yeah, like your past.
No, I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of all the shitty things I've done in my past, but I also don't regret it to a certain extent because they did lead me to who I am today. So yeah. I think I did have to make all those mistakes to actually learn my lesson. Yeah. I'm really stubborn, so for most people, they can either learn from other people's example or they can learn from one mistake, but I had to make mistakes over and over and over again before I finally got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I asked that question because like for me, I would say I'm proud of like my past because it shaped me to who I am.
Okay.
And because of that, it led me to become a more intellectual warrior just in this lifetime, you know?
Okay.
And so if I didn't have all that stuff that happened to me in the past and I overcame all of that, then it's like what you said. It wouldn't make you into like who you are.
Yeah.
But just to talk about like now, right?
Yeah.
You are currently working at where are you working at?
Well, I was working at TikTok and I found a better position somewhere else. Not going to say that company's name, but yeah, it's a pretty good position.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then like when you were working at TikTok, let's just talk about TikTok.
Sure.
How much were you making? Like if you're comfortable saying that.
So I was, before taxes, everything combined was 180.
180.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they would see that you came from being a bartender to now being, you know, a software engineer and then making at least 180.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah. As a bartender, the most I ever made was 45 in 1 year. And I thought that was so good that when I lost that job, I actually experienced a bit of a suicidal ideation because I thought that was the best job I might ever get, which is kind of crazy to think about, you know?
Yeah.
For 45 a year.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people would actually think that, like 45 a year, it's good. They would be like, that's the best I could get.
In the service industry, yeah, that's decent. Yeah.
No, I mean, when I was a high schooler, I was like, I'd be happy with 40K.
Oh, yeah, in high school.
But then once, you know, I graduated from college and all that, I was like, dude, I'm able to make way more easily.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You just, like, self-doubt is such a big thing. And like you as like a teenager or like just like a young adult, you start to just think that you can't really do all this stuff, but you actually can, right?
Yeah, I wasn't even that young. I was like 27. So that was like a good amount after I graduated. I think I was like four years graduated by then. So it wasn't even right out of college.
I mean, that's still pretty young, man. You were like what, 22?
No, I was 27 when that first like kind of happened. 26, 27. So yeah, I graduated around like 22. But yeah, because you said right out of college you already thought, oh, I could make a lot more.
Yeah.
But I was around like 26, 27. Even then, I was thinking 45 is a lot. And then I even was offered a manager position at some ramen restaurant, and they were offering me 80 over there. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how much my mindset has changed since then.
I also heard that you were trying to get into like real estate, right?
Oh yeah, I tried that. It didn't work out.
Okay.
Market's way too saturated.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this guy's just getting into like a ton of different things.
I was trying. Yeah.
And I was like, dang, like this guy didn't look like he was going anywhere. I was like, holy shit. But then what made you like to start to pursue like software engineering? Because like that's a big jump. You go from like bartending to being like, oh shit, let's do software engineering.
Yeah. So COVID actually closed down my bar permanently. That was the last bar I worked at, and that's when I knew I needed a change because my employment was too dependent on these like just unstable like establishments. The service industry it's really unstable. So I did some research. I literally just Googled best career to transition into without going back to school. I think that's literally what I Googled. And then consistently the number one result was data science, which like I had never heard of it. I had no idea what it was, but from what I gathered, it was a combination of coding and statistics. So I was like, you know what? Everyone keeps saying learn to code. That's like back then what they said. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll just do it. So I took a couple coding classes online, and I was like, you know what? This is kind of fun. Didn't expect to enjoy it, you know. Yeah. But then I was like, okay, let's be more serious about it. So I took a boot camp. That was like 6 months. And then 2 months after the boot camp, that's when I found my first job.
So I guess like at first glance, you were like, I'm just going to do this for money. And then you ended up starting to like it, right?
Yeah.
That's like what every teenager thinks about. They're like, I want to make the most amount of money. And they don't really care about like doing what they love. Sure. Maybe there's like half-half, you would say.
It's like half-half.
Yeah. Because like me back then, I was like, when I was like a kid, I was like, I just want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But I started realizing what really makes you happy is doing things that makes you happy.
Yeah. And when I found out that there was statistics involved, I mean, I hate math, and I never got past pre-calc, but stats was like the only math that I actually enjoyed when I took it. So I was like, okay, this might be good. Like, it might work out. And it was pretty interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So I guess like other younger people, if they don't have belief in their math skills, I mean, my math sucks, and I'm an engineer. but it's because like I like physics and like, the logic of how things work. So if your math sucks, I would say that like it's not the end of the world. Like you still can do science shit, you know. Yeah. I mean, I still count my fingers, bro. I still go.
Dang, when it gets to 11, that's when it gets hard, huh?
Like, yeah, 8 plus 5. Oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Shit.
Gotta start using your toes, too.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, I guess that's some inspiration for, like, the younger folks. But let's backtrack a little bit to before when you were a bartender, okay?
Sure.
I know we talked a little bit about, like, recent years, how you became successful and intelligent software engineer, but let's talk about like when you're a bartender, okay? Like the fuck up story. This is like the really just the juicy part.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people, they would see a guy and they would be like, well, he can do that because he's smart, right? But you don't see yourself as a smart guy.
No, I don't think I'm that smart.
So back then when you were doing like bartending, and then let's talk a little bit about your DUI. Like what happened there?
So I had 2 DUIs. First one I got it was like a Friendsgiving party, and I don't remember why I drank so much, but I used to drink a lot back then. I would drink like at least 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And it was pretty heavy every time. So I think, yeah, that time I was just drank a lot. Probably took like 20 shots at least, and then obviously blacked out. No one could tell back then whenever I was drunk because my composure was pretty good. And yeah, I took my keys, went to drive. People were like trying to stop me. I was like, no, I'm chill. And then they believed me. And then yeah, so I was in Irvine, got my first DUI there. And I went to the drunk tank for like 4 hours. So it wasn't that bad. The worst part of it was I had to like, the moment I got in, I had to take a shit, and I was sharing a cell with like 8 dudes, and they had a toilet in the corner.
Why do you say it's so funny? I had to take a shit.
I remember this very clearly. It was very painful. I don't know if you ever had to hold a shit in for hours.
No, I had.
Yeah. Okay. No, but so there was. So yeah, there's like 8 dudes. There's a toilet in the corner, no separation. So it's just out there. And I wasn't at the point where I could just take a shit with 8 other dudes in the room. So I just held it in, and I was standing, putting my leg up on like a bench, sitting, like any position I could do. And then the moment I got out, I fucking wrecked that public restroom in the fucking prison, dude. That was like the worst part of it. But the second time was a lot worse. Second time we had bottomless mimosas. This was I think.
Wait, hold on. So going back to that like jail cell, okay?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you said you had to take a shit, and like if you did use the bathroom,
if I did
the bathroom, the toilet,
yeah,
it'd be in front of 8 other people
yeah,
or so.
Yeah.
What the hell? Like the toilet is just like out in the open.
Oh
like
yeah.
that?
There's no separation. Yeah.
I've never been in jail, so.
Oh yeah. You don't want to go there. But so most people I would have learned after one DUI, and most of my friends have.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who have DUIs.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I obviously didn't learn. I was like, that wasn't too bad. Cost a lot of money, but I was just getting by, and I was like, fuck it, it's not gonna stop me. So I continued to drink and drive.
Yeah.
And then second time was 2019, I think 2020. Actually, no, 2021. It was like 2 years ago. We went to bottomless mimosas, and then once again blacked out, and I was in Tustin this time, and then I was making like a left turn, but because I was falling asleep and waking up falling asleep, as I was making a left turn, I kind of like fell asleep, and then I just went all the way and hit the curb instead of like making the actual left turn, and then popped like the tire. It was like really bad. Someone called the cops on me, and then they took me to jail again. This time they put me in solitary because they asked me if I had mental health issues, and between the first and second one, I'd gone through like pretty bad mental health issues. So I told them like, yeah, I have a history of depression and suicidal ideation, and I guess they heard that, and they were like, we're gonna make you more depressed. So they put me in solitary for 48 hours.
What the hell?
And they stripped me naked. They made me wear this it's like a straitjacket, I guess. I don't know, but it was like a yellow puffy like jacket. And it only went down like to my waist.
Yeah.
So my balls were out, and then there's a big glass window and a door facing towards the inside of the prison. So basically all the staff, the police walking by, they can all look in.
They just want to embarrass you.
Yeah, I felt like a zoo animal. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm in there. The floors are stained, covered in like yellow, orange, like sticky. Like it looked like dried up piss and vomit.
Yeah.
And then they gave me...
Which place was this at? Like
Santa Ana.
Oh, okay.
Santa Ana, yeah. They gave me a mat, like a yoga mat. I was like this thin to sleep on. And then it was too short for my whole body, so my legs would hang off. And I'm a side sleeper, right? So I'm lying on the mat trying to sleep, and all I see is just this like piss covered floor.
God damn.
The smell, I'm smelling it the whole time.
Holy sh!
So the whole 48 hours, I probably got like 4 hours of sleep. So I was going pretty insane in there, and it actually felt like 4 days. So when they finally let me out and told me it was just 2 days, I was mind blown. And then in the toilet, there's no running water. So there's a toilet, and it's filled with flies. Every time I take a piss, you see a swarm just fly out.
Yeah.
And start circling the cell, and they fly back every single time. And this time, since there were no people around, I was taking shits, but I'm like taking shits while surrounded by like fucking flies everywhere. And yeah, it was a horrible experience. So I was in there. My thoughts kept looping. I just kept thinking about the people that I care about that I was letting down, basically. And they asked me if I wanted to post bail, and I said no. I don't want any of my friends to pay for me. I'm just gonna deal with the consequences. And I guess luckily they still posted the bail for me. And then that's when a Chip, like one of my closest friends, he bailed me out.
How much was the bail?
It was $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So they let me out. I was really surprised. I was like, why are you guys letting me out? They're like, someone bailed you out. I was like, no, I didn't want to be bailed out. They're like, no, you got bailed out, so you have to go. I was like, okay, fine. And then so I came out. The moment I got out, first thing I did was text everyone who bailed me out. And when Chip said it was him, I legit just started breaking down right in front of the jailhouse.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is never happening again. Like, I really fucked up this time. And yeah, never again. So went through all the DUI classes, AA classes that I had to do, fucking breathalyzer in my car for 18 months, everything. And I'm finally done with all that. And yeah, I'm never making that mistake again. But that was a huge wake-up call for me. Yeah.
Holy
I'm
shit.
never going back.
That's actually worse than I thought it to be. I mean,
No,
you only
it's
told me
so-
like a little bit, but
yeah.
that's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the dried up piss, that makes me want to throw up a little bit too.
It was disgusting, dude. When people like when I see prison documentaries or shows about prison, and people talk about how they were in solitary for months, weeks, whatever it is, I'm mind blown, because I legit, if it was just,
It felt like 2 years, right?
yeah, no, if it was just 2 more days in there, I don't know where my mental sanity would be at this point. I
Correct.
almost broke in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I could relate to that because I've been in like what was it called? Like a psych ward?
Oh, the
Like a mental
5150.
hospital. Yeah,
The 5150.
it was like Charter Oak, like
Okay.
mental hospital, like where they keep you for about 72 hours.
Yeah, I know. What
They were
you're
trying to keep me for another 72 hours. And I was just like, dude, I'm already going insane in here.
Yeah.
Like, they originally kept me in there because I'm insane. They thought I was insane.
Mm.
So they kept me in there for 72 hours, but I felt like I was from a normal person turning insane. You know, but we could talk about that another day. Today's about you.
Sure.
So, I mean, I guess that was like your wake up call, right? Because you felt like you were letting down so many people. And then the first time, like, what was going on in your mind the first time? How come that didn't make you just click and just be like, okay, I'm going to stop fucking around now?
I guess I just always have this, I don't take life very seriously. Some have complained that a little too unseriously. Yeah. So when it first happened, I kind of just thought it was funny. I was like, haha, I got a DUI. Yeah, I was like,
got my think it's gonna be a lot of money and all that.
Oh, it was a lot of money, yeah. But I was just like, yeah, I'll be fine. It was just funny. I got a DUI. I joked about it a lot. And then yeah, like I would go drink. I would still be heavily drinking, like every week, and then I would kind of brag about it, like people would be drinking, you know how when you tell people, hey, take a shot, and they're like, no, I'm drinking, and I'm like, yeah, well, I have a DUI. Like I would just pull that shit out and be like proud of it to like get people to drink.
Oh, you mean like you said, no, I'm drinking. You meant
no,
driving. Like, I'm driving, right? That's what you meant.
No, like I would try to get people to take a shot, right? Yeah. And they're like, no, I can't. I'm driving. I'd be like, yeah, well, I'm driving too, and I have a DUI, so you have to take the shot. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
No, actually, someone has pulled that shit on me before.
Yeah,
like,
it's dumb.
Like, you're dumb, but I'm not trying to be dumb like you.
Exactly. I was putting my stupidity out for the world to see, and openly being proud of it, and that's embarrassing.
Okay, so you had like a pompous attitude before, and then would you say that now changed after like the wake up call? Like, your whole reality just was like, okay, I need a reality check, pretty much.
Yeah, that was my reality check.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
We're gonna pause a little bit. I'm just like, holy shit, man.
No, even just recounting that story, I was like, yeah, I could still smell those floors, man.
Those floors, they still smell like shit.
Dude.
Would they smell like shit or piss?
It was piss. It was a very strong odor of ammonia and like rotten bologna sandwiches, because that's all they feed you in jail.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, they mess with you in there too. So they give you 3 meals a day. Same thing. It's a bologna sandwich, an apple, and like a banana.
Yeah.
And so they'll give you like a meal in the morning. They're like, oh, here's dinner, and they'll give you like your dinner. They'll be, oh, here's breakfast. So you literally have no idea what time it is in there and how long you've been there. And then no toilet paper either. So I would rip up the paper bag and use that as toilet paper, just like this crinkled up paper bag. Yeah. And also no pillow either. So there was one meal that I skipped just so I could roll it up and use that as a pillow. Yeah.
What the hell?
So you're eating really shitty food and
this is just
not
48
sleeping.
hours, right?
Yeah, it was just 48 hours, but felt way longer.
Yeah. Okay, so mine was 72 hours in the psych ward in the mental hospital. And then when I was in there for like 72 hours, it felt like 3 years. That's how I described it. Yeah. It felt like 3 years. Yeah. And people don't believe me when I say that. It's like they play the same shit over and over on TV too. I don't know if you guys got TV.
No TV.
You guys didn't have TV?
No.
Like they at least, because I was a minor at that time when they put me in the hospital. And then we had the same movie looping over and over again. It was like some Shiloh, like some really old school shit.
Yeah.
I don't remember what movie, but it was just crappy. And it was just corny. And then I was like, in that state, it was 2011. That's when I was just getting into like working out. And I was like, dude, I need to work out. I was like, fuck.
Oh.
Like all these like scrawny kids. And then there's another kid. He was like, oh, I've been in here for like years.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy.
And he's like, I like being in here. I was like, what the fuck is this kid saying? I was like, get me the hell out. I'm normal. The thing is, they put me in there as an excuse so I don't get a felony.
Did someone report you or something?
It's like some shit that happened in high school. Like there was like a weapon involved, and then so like I'll talk about it another day, probably like when I have my own session. But just like kind of like relating to you, I mean, when
did you get a bed in there, by the way?
Yeah, I got bed. Okay, yeah, at least it wasn't that bad like as yours.
Okay.
But it was still kind of like, you know,
you're still getting held against your will, basically.
Yeah, but then it's like what you said. You start having these looping thoughts.
Yeah.
And then that's what I find interesting, because I had those looping thoughts too.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking about, fuck. Like, for example, me, right? I don't know if you had a girlfriend that time. Did you?
No.
Okay. So I had a girlfriend that time. It was her friend that reported me. So I had all this controversial shit, like Controvert podcast, Controvert.
Yeah.
So I had all this shit going in my head. Like, is she going to still be with me? And I was simping hard. I was like, just still trying to like hold on to her when she didn't even back me up. So like there's just all this looping thoughts that was happening. I fucked up. I was a letdown to my parents. And then I think that's kind of what you felt, right? And I kind of want to tie this back to religion, because I'm not a religious guy. But then I used to study religion in college. And there's this time with Siddhartha Gautama, right?
Yeah.
Buddhism. I'm not Buddhist either.
Okay.
I found this story very interesting because he had a spear in his stomach or so. I don't know how true this is. He had a spear in his stomach. He was just on a hill. He was just laying there, like kind of erect like this, and just laying there. Yeah, like just kind of like, you know, when people like
upright.
Yeah, upright.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, erect. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so he was like upright like this, right? Kind of like kneeling, kind of like as if he's praying. And then he came up with like the 10 commandments or the eightfold paths. I forget, it was one of those. That time, I think it was like 48 hours. He didn't eat. All his disciples were coming up to him and saying, hey, do you want some food? And he starved himself.
Why was there a spear in him? He put it there himself?
I think he decided that if I endure pain, then I could come up with like these logical thoughts. And then so the eightfold path or 10 commandments.
Oh, I see.
It's like just pretty much, you know how America has like the Bill of Rights or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty much like coming up with things that will like make sure you're happy. But for America, like the Bill of Rights, it's to make sure everything's legal. Everything kind of falls in order in a general perspective.
Sure.
So I found that very interesting, because that time you're going through this like endless spiral, just constantly thinking about it. You're like, fuck, you came up with your own kind of principles, right? That you need to shape yourself up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which was, don't ever drink and drive again.
I think the moral of the story is that, like, do you think it takes someone to experience all this stupid shit for them to actually shape up? And by that time, would it be too late?
I think it depends on the person. I think some people learn quicker than others. I'm obviously a slow learner, so I had to get to that point to learn. And I don't think, like, if that never happened, I think today, who knows? I might still be binge drinking and driving.
Yeah.
So
I look at it like this. For example, back then when I was getting into all this trouble in high school, I was like, my smart best friend who's in IB, doing tennis, doing really good at games, better than me in everything.
Okay.
He doesn't need to fuck up to be better than me.
Yeah.
Right? But then I started thinking, this is sad. Like, I have to go through all these trials and tribulations until I become someone who's smart. But then I started realizing, in college, he actually dropped out and he wasn't doing good because he ended up just kind of blowing up. So I think it's good that you went through all this shit. It's good that I went through all this shit because if we went through it at a later phase, we'd probably be more fucked up. So I think this is just more optimistic thinking for people who are going through stuff at this time, where it's like they might be thinking, my friend Kevin, he's able to just be a smartass when he never went through all this stuff. But you never know. This guy might end up going through some shit in the future, right?
Sure, I get what you're saying. Like, if you're able to be really productive and just like get all your shit together on your own without making huge mistakes, then you might not have as strong as a motivation as someone who had to learn through really tough mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Because that person who went through really tough mistakes, he's now really motivated to never be that person he was before. Whereas the person who he didn't have to make those mistakes, maybe he'll be tested in the future and he will fail that test because he didn't go through it before. Yeah. So I get what you're saying. That kind of makes sense. Yeah. I can see that.
So I would say, dude, you got to be proud of like your history, man. I mean, you say you're proud of like the things you learned, right? But
sure.
not of like the history of like how you tormented other people, right?
I'm not proud. Yeah. I'm not proud of my history. I just accept that it happened because there's nothing I can do. But it did shape me into who I am today. So I just accepted it, but not proud of it.
Okay. Well, I did actually have something else to talk about like the girls part. So I did mention that like you had a lot of girls that you're fucking around with. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is what really also sparked interest in me because I was like, dude, this guy's Saint says the weirdest shit to girls. Like, for example, this one I always bring up, right? This one about like how this girl she had sex with a couple guys in one day, and then she told you that because she likes you, and then you straight up just said to her, "That's hot. Come over." I was like, dude, this guy's one of those crazy psycho motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And then I'm just saying this story because, and then let me know if you want me to take this out.
No, that's fine.
It's fine. Okay. But I'm just saying this and sharing this like experience because it's like, dude, someone who like you expect to be one of those crazy swingers and psychos who just like drinks a lot, he ends up shaping up to become like a coder. It's just so mind fucking,
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a crazy journey.
Yeah, but glad to have you on, bro, and then glad to have you talk about this experience because I think this is really eye-catching for a lot of the younger crowd people too. I mean, especially for me, I don't really come across people, my fellow peers that went through this same trial and tribulation that that I kind of went through. So I think it's good that you went through this, and it's good that you shaped up. The key point is that you shaped up.
Yeah,
which is good.
Could have been worse because when I was in those programs, there were people on their 4th, 5th DUI, and there's people out there who just haven't learned yet. So
there's probably someone who's out there who will never learn.
Yep.
So I think that's the key point. But with that, man, thanks for coming on again.
Yep.
And dude, I've been waiting so long for this like podcast session, dude. Like we've been delaying it because it's such a passionate story. I didn't want to fuck it up, It's such a good story that like I wanted to ask the right questions. And I wanted to also let people know that you came a long way and let other people know that they could also come a long way from being a fuck up.
Yeah.
So thanks again, man, for coming on, man.
Of course.
Well, if you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe and like this video. If you liked Saint's message and his story, leave a comment below what you think. And if you have your own experience, let us know as well. We'll see you guys next time on Controvert Podcast. Peace out, guys.